The Flow Friday Night Sports Show continues on the final show. We're into the final hour of the summer season. Of course, it's not the final sports show, though. We will be back in the winter, ready, refreshed, and raring to go after Easter. And Flowman, given that it is the final summer show of the year, the highlights of the summer, before we get into what's to come and what you've been up to. I want to talk to you about what you've been up to in the last week as well. But your highlights of the summer season. Cricket this year, was it much of a highlight for you?
No, it was probably one of the more disappointing things, seeing the Australian cricket side get nailed by India. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought we were going to bounce back this series. I thought we had lost two of our best cricketers in Sandpaper Gate the previous series. We had blooded some new cricketers. Travis Head had come into the Australian side after Sandpaper Gate. I felt like with Warner and Smith, and I just felt like our bowling lineup. But I reckon the disappointment that Nathan Lyon just failed to fire in terms of wicket taking, and if you really want to, the highlight was to see how India and this Rishbhar Pant played in that final couple of tests to actually take the series away. Highlight was India. They were magnificent.
Highlight for my summer was going off the course of my Shield cricket with your brother, Big Bruce, in his setup there, and watching Sean Tate smash 120 all over the place out there around the Meadows, I reckon it was. Just belted them to all parts. And this is a bloke who, on international cricket, doesn't look like he can hold a bat the right way around. So goes to tell you the difference between cricket at that level and cricket by short level. But I had some fun watching him that day. He didn't hold back.
He didn't hold back. Hey, look, wasn't it great, though, to introduce to Flow audiences everywhere three really young talents? And it's really great that you've actually worked with these lads. They are three journalists. It's really terrific to have Ellis Nagelius here with us. He's got the world game under control. Then you add to that basketball with Dan Crouch. He is absolutely a fountain of knowledge when it comes to sport in general, but a really good basketball commentator and a good writer too. And then Dan, our own Carl Carrington here coming to the fore, and we've already heard just how much knowledge he has when it comes to fantasy football, and for our younger generation, younger writers and so forth too. Great stuff to have these three guys join our team this year.
It has been. It's been good to bounce topics off of them as well. And together, the three of us, without Carl on board at this point, but Dan Crouch, Ellis Gellius, you'll hear more from them on the Point Post throughout the winter months. And you can get that direct off of our Facebook page, and we'll tell you more details about that in the future. But it's great to have those boys involved in that, and their AFL knowledge is very, very strong as well. Dan is a Sydney Swans supporter, so it's the Flow News 24 showdown this week, the Crows versus the Swans. And Ellis Gellius is a very proud West Coast Eagles supporter as well. But look, let's look forward towards what's coming up before we talk about what's happening in this hour. I mean forward as in a couple of weeks when the country footy and netball will be back underway. It's been a very long wait for our friends in Victoria and New South Wales especially, and in some parts of South Australia as well. But Flowman, I'm expecting the numbers crowd-wise will be big. As big as they can be under COVID restrictions, and everyone's going to really thrive on having the footy and netball back.
Yeah, the point about this is that up until the Second World War, we actually haven't had a break since that time when the soldiers were off to fight. Some competitions went into recess, including VFL and SANFL peak competitions at the time. Actually, that did a different style of competition. SANFL amalgamated North Adelaide and Nord joined forces to become a side together during that period, so they reduced the impact because of the war. We haven't had a break in the sporting context. With COVID occurring, it is the first time most leagues across Australia actually stopped playing sport during that 2020 year. Some still got a changed or a shortened season in, as we know, in South Australia, more so in South Australia. Nowhere in Victoria did they play sport at all last year. In New South Wales, in just the Riverina alone, we lost the Hume football, we lost Farah. They were just playing with a shortened and also a lessened number of clubs played in Riverina. So this has been unprecedented for local sports. So when you talk about kids lining up to play, and I was out at the Own United Kangas ground at Blackburn Park, and I said to the under-12s there, I said, right, kids, I said, tell me, if you had a chance of watching your favourite AFL stars go around, you know, an AFL game, and some of you wearing Richmond, some Essendon, some Hawthorn jumpers right now, if you could watch them, the young lads, or what would you prefer, to play yourself in a first game? Every kid immediately went play. They just wanted to play again, and that says it all about this break and what it's meant to the kids.
Yep, spot on, Flowman. Look, just before we have a look at what's coming up in this hour, one other point to make about having the footy back and the netball back is it is the meeting place, and I think it's going to do a lot for mental health in regional areas as well, trying to get that back up to speed. So let's have a look at what is coming up in the final hour of our summer show today. A little bit later on, Big Brucey, he's coming up. We're going to be talking speedway action with the great man.
Yes, speeding his way to things. So is he sprinting his way with some sprint cars?
He is. We've got a bit of a. We'll go our separate ways for our Flow family in Victoria and New South Wales. You're going to have the Flowman and myself wrapping up summer sport there, cricket competitions locally, and then a bit of a look forward to some of the trial action which is coming up this weekend for football and netball. Yeah,
that's right, and it's going to be pre-Easter. Has some of the people looking to get themselves fit. 120 people out on the training track at that oval at Blackburn Park. That was netball and football, but gee, that's a big number of people all on one night, and the kids and the adults all training together was absolutely fantastic. You can see actually some of that on the Flow FM Australia's Facebook page.
You can.
Little video. But, you know, I think it's going to be the trial matches that come either the first week after Easter for some. Other competitions start up straight after Easter. River Murray football's already had 2 rounds of matches, which we've already heard with Clayton earlier on in South Australia. But this becomes for clubs to get out and about. You said about crowds. I think the Victorian number's now being lifted, so that's great. So I think full crowds, a lot of COVID restrictions and washing hands and all those things. But we're just going to be back out there. A bit of word of the things. I said to the kids, what about how do you treat the umpires, kids? They said, you show them respect. And I thought, okay, kids, and you bigger kids too, let's show our officiating people respect this year. Let's be thankful for the timekeepers and for those that are at the gate punching our numbers as we come in, and for the ladies behind the canteen, particularly the ones that make the pies, and we're very much supportive of them. We really want to get right back into country sport.
I can't argue with the pie comment there.
No.
The rest of this hour, of course, Pacer Murphy in South Australia, who works for SA Community Football, and they've had a lot on their plate on the Eyre Peninsula. So we're going to have a look at that. There's a few clubs playing in different competitions this year that Pacer will tell us about. We've talked about it before on this program. Dan Crouch, you mentioned him before. He's up next to talk NBL and NBA action. It is the Flow Friday Night Sports Show, repeated 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. on Saturday morning.